So let's introduce the Lions pecking order series of videos. I did kind of a pecking order in the Six Nations saying who was jostling for positions for the squad. Now we've got the squad, we've started the games, it's all about who's jostling for positions for those test spots. So pecking order is very important. Yes, we've only had one game, but I think there's starting to be a bit of a shuffle in the pecking order. Plus, I'm going to say what I think the original pecking order is anyway. And as the games progress, I'm going to adjust this just to get in my head who I think is heading towards that test side. But of course, it's all just good fun. It's subjective. You can watch the same game and some people say someone had a great game, an okay game or a terrible game with the same evidence. That is the fun of sport. So do not panic if myself or someone else says something you disagree with. Just say why down below because I love to read your comments. Obviously, I did a live stream in that first game against Argentina, so I thought I was watching it pretty closely, but then people were pointing out things I'd missed, which is going to happen. They're pointing out other points of view, so I've really taken that all into account with this pecking order. But again, let me know what you think, because it is the fun of sport. So thinking back to that Argentina game, how did the hookers go? Cowan-Dickey's throwing? Not the best. We kind of know that, I guess, but you could say, well, the line out wasn't well coordinated, which it wasn't, but I think it improved a bit when Kelleher came on. So I think for me, that pecking order between the two is Kelleher, Cowan-Dickey for now. Sheehan, he was probably number one in the pecking order without even playing, and he probably is a little bit more number one. Some of you guys saying in the comments he should just be wrapped in cotton wool, maybe play a game or two and then save for the test series, and maybe there is some merit in that because he is so far the top of the pecking order. Props wise, well, loose heads, they went really well. In fact, props in general, they are the best position from this Argentina game. Genge, I thought, had a really good game in the scrum as well and in the loose, and Schoeman came on and was no nonsense, and I really like that. We will see Porter obviously later, probably in the next game, but because of those performances, I think the pecking order goes Genge, Schoeman, Porter, but those three could really move around. It's a good race, but just because they've had the first outing and they played well, I think Genge and Schoeman go to the top. Beelum, obviously a late call up to the tour, and boy did he take that chance with a brilliant performance to start with. I thought scrummaging loose again, all-round game, and Furlong came on, was looking pretty good to be honest before he had to go back off for an HIA and Beelum on. We will see Stewart soon. Again, it's going to be a good bun fight, but because we saw plenty of Beelum and he performed well, I think he's to the top of the pecking order at the moment. It's obviously very early days, of course. Second row is interesting. Maratoje, I think, has to be top of the pecking order, and he's going to stay there because he is the captain. Many comments saying he didn't play that great, and he probably didn't, but he's going to be starting in that test series if he's fit because he's the captain, unless something disastrous happens, unless he has a terrible tour, but he is going to start, I'm pretty sure. Byrne did okay, not his best game, I guess. That neck roll, that penalty at the end could have been costly. He did score his try, though, and I'm interested to see if he gets tried at 6 at some point because he's a classy operator, and maybe it wasn't his best game, but the combination of the two, many of you guys said maybe isn't the best because you need maybe someone like a Joe McCarthy, a big hulking ball carrier, which is why he's at 3, and we haven't really seen Chesham and Ryan, so they're below him. Cummings came on, and I didn't see a lot there. He was a surprise inclusion, so maybe Ryan and Cummings towards the bottom there could have them either way round. And I do have the very good offer going for the testosterone testing kit. It's 45% off on the manual website with the code RugbyAnalyst45. There's an introductory offer which is like 30% anyway. This gives you a bit more, so never better time to get tested, or someone else you know who wants to get tested, let them know about that because it's a popular thing these days just to know maybe why you have low energy, try to rule a few things out. So that is there if you want it. Now, blindside, I see 3 main options. We saw Tom Curry, and a mixed bag from Tom Curry in that game, and you guys kind of said as much in the comments. Some saying, he's not the player he was, he's not a Morgan all around the pitch, he's not quite as agile as he was, but he is very strong, and he did chuck back a few guys on the line. He did make a few powerful carries when he's in contact. He kind of goes through a couple more metres, drives his legs, so he is strong, but maybe a little bit of a liability in defence with his positioning and agility, possibly. But no, he's a good player. I think he's in the middle somewhere. Byrne, I think, is probably number 1. We haven't seen him there on this tour, but we've seen him there before, and I do think Chesham is a good option at 6, but we haven't seen him yet. So I'm going to say Byrne, Curry, Chesham at the moment, that pecking order at blindside. Open side, I see those guys as potential contenders, but Van der Fleer I think is top. He hasn't played, but he's been World Player of the Year. He's been a class act for Ireland for a long time, so I think he is the best option at the moment, or number one on the pecking order. Morgan, how did he play against Argentina? Well, a couple of things I thought didn't go for him was out wide. He got pushed into touch, he got stopped dead, but you guys said in the comments, well, he's not really an edge player anyway, but on the floor he was the best in that game. Some lovely low tackles, love his tackling technique, love his work over the ball, so I think he's a really good option with Van der Fleer and him as the top two open side options. Curry can play 7, Earl can play 7 and Pollock can play 7 as well, but we haven't seen them there, and I think those other two are probably well ahead of him at the moment in these early exchanges. Number 8. Well, we've probably only got one true number 8 on tour, which is a contentious point. Will we see another one? We saw Tom Willis play at the weekend, and boy, he is an old school big number 8, the sort of guy you might need. Faletau, another good option, but they're not touring. So because of that, I think Conan is the number 1 number 8 option. We saw Earl against Argentina. He certainly went into contact with a lot of power and pace, but can get stops on the gain line because he's not the biggest. He's kind of a 7 who can play 8. Tom Curry and Pollock can also play 8, but I think it really is between those two, and I see Conan, having not played, still being the number 1 option. Now, reflecting on the Argentina game at scrum half, I thought Mitchell went pretty well. There was a full range of comments from people saying he was great, to he's average, to he was really poor. I was commenting on it as I went, and I thought he got to the ruck pretty quick, got the ball away, and we had some pretty decent kicks as well. So I think it was okay. Thomas Williams, when he came on, yeah, I think he did up the pace. I wasn't too sure immediately after the game. I mean, I am going to comment on players immediately after the game, but it takes time to really have a think about it, to look it back. And he did put some guys through on some lovely flat balls. They were getting some flat runners of 3 forwards, and he was picking them out. Someone who's really good at doing that is Jamison Gibson Park. I think he still stays as number 1 because when he's at his best, he is probably the best there, but I would say him and Williams number 1 and 2 and Mitchell 3, but they're all pretty good options there. We saw Finn Smith play and he was okay, but did make some mistakes. That whole back line was overplaying and flipping the ball around a bit too much, and he did dither and drop the ball a couple of times. So not his best game, but he got a start and he did some good things. So I think he sits in the middle of the pack. Russell, I think, still well ahead, even though he hasn't played, because he had such an amazing season and all that experience and all that amazing evidence playing for Scotland. Marcus Smith, we saw him at 15. I don't think he is a 15. He did do some good things, particularly in attack, but we need to see him at 10 to challenge probably Finn Smith for that second spot at the moment. So I think it's Russell, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith. Pecking order. Inside centre, I only see 2 options, Tuipulotu and Aki, and in that game we saw pretty much that Tuipulotu is slightly the better player, better footwork, he's got a bit more about him. Aki is a big, powerful guy for sure. Finished his try well, but I think Tuipulotu is well ahead of him, and we're probably not going to see Tuipulotu at 13 again because there are a lot of other 13s there. Jones, Ringrose, Daly as well, and then Tuipulotu is last on that list because I think we're probably not going to see him there. They're going to want to play him at 12 anyway, even though they haven't played. Jones and Ringrose I think are ahead of Daly. Jones, because he is the partner of Tuipulotu, I think is top of that pile, but I'd like to see Ringrose go as well. Jones, when's he going to be back fit? He's been rehabbing, that is the question. Daly came on in the Argentina game and did pretty well at 13 as well, so those are the options, still putting Jones at the top, and I don't think we'll see Tuipulotu there again, or probably not planned to be there again anyway. Wing-wise, interesting one. This one against Argentina was fascinating for Freeman because he had so many touches. He was heavily involved, and if you count up all the great things he did, it was a lot. And then he lost a few high balls and he dropped one cold at the end. So there were a few things he didn't do so well. But on average, probably the positive outweighs the negative. Looking back on it, I'd say he was actually very decent, and he actually worked really hard, some muscular stuff in there. And they were all guilty of over-offloading and over-passing. So I think Freeman actually did pretty well, and I'd keep him top of the pile for now because we haven't seen a huge amount of the rest. Van der Merwe, the other winger that played, didn't look so good, vulnerable in defence, although he is a machine of a runner, really powerful. So I think he drops down a bit. Low from his pedigree for Ireland, sits just below Freeman, I think. But Hansen came on and looked pretty tidy, very slick player, so I put him in 3rd. Kinghorn is going to be there eventually when he finishes up for Toulouse, and he played on the wing in the semi-final for the top 14, so he's an option, and Daly is another option, but towards the bottom at the moment. Fullback-wise, Marcus Smith played. We've talked about it before. He's a really good player, very talented. I don't think he's a 15. You don't really want him coming for a high ball in a load of traffic. That's not his thing. Defending in that sort of one-on-one situation isn't really his thing. Let's see him at 10, but he's there if you need him. I would put Daly above him, and I thought he should have started in that game anyway, really. But Keenan and Kinghorn are the main options. When Keenan is fully fit, and he's probably going to be playing the next game, hopefully, and Kinghorn will join us soon, hopefully, when that top 14 finishes. And I don't think they'll need any other fullbacks particularly. It will be those two playing the bulk, if not all the games anyway. So that is my pecking order as we see it in these very early days. I'm going to be updating this after each game. It's going to be a really interesting tool for me just to see in my head where I think everyone is, and let me know what you think. That is the most interesting thing for me. Do subscribe as well if you haven't already. It really does help, and I'll catch you next time.